All right. Hello, everybody, and welcome to the last session for Unlock Digital. If this is your first time in the new features track, welcome. My name is Casey Paxton. I'm the content marketing manager here at Akeneo, and I am your virtual host for all of the new feature labs today. If you are looking for the confidently ingest product data, external product data lab, then you're in the right place. If you're looking for the scale your product story lab, you'll need to exit out of this session and join the link specifically for that lab. Now we have a great lab for you today to help close out Unlock Digital. But just quickly before we get started, I want to let you know that we do have a Q&A chat available during this session, and we have technical product moderators standing by ready to answer your questions. So please feel free to take advantage of this during the session and ask any questions that you may have. We also have a downloadable PDF that's available to you in the agenda overview for this session. It highlights a lot of the great capabilities and the features that Demi and Andrea are about to share with you. So please feel free to check that out and share it with your team. Now, with that said, it is my pleasure to invite Demi and Andrea to the stage.
Thanks, Casey. I'm super excited.
Thank you so much for the warm welcome.
Okay, thanks for joining us, everyone. As Casey highlighted, we're here to talk about ingesting external product data. This is a topic that's near and dear to both of our hearts as we work on this day in and day out. So excited to show you what we're working on. I am Demi. I'm a technical product marketer here at Akeneo. I work on fun things like SDM, our extensibility platform, if you've come to our other sessions, and I'm really excited to show you what we have been working on. And I'll pass over to Andrea.
Amazing. Hi, everyone. Really excited to be here. I'm Andrea, and I'm the Senior Product Manager and owner of SDM here at Akeneo. It's really a pleasure to be able to talk about the foundations of what we're building today. I think it's super exciting. We're going to talk about a lot of collaboration between you and your suppliers. And I also feel like it's quite cool that we get to wrap the labs session for Unlock Digital, especially because we're gonna kind of leave you on a lot of teasers for the future. So I feel like it's the perfect ending for Unlock Digital. Wouldn't you say so, Demi?
I think so. It's as we start to think about what we're going to do today, it's the perfect key up, right? We have a lot of exciting things. We've been thinking about really intently how the ecosystem shifts. As you saw in the keynote, it's about this great restack. And that doesn't just apply to your PIM data. That also applies to how we think about product data onboarding. So we're going to talk a lot about things that we've learned from working with our customers. You're going to hear some new language. So I just want to preface that you might hear the word contributor. We're expanding the way we think about external data sources. It's not just about suppliers. We know that things are coming from different places. At its foundation, we're going to think about how this enhanced and expanded collaboration brings us to a place where we can start to instill trust in how we work with external product data. We'll briefly touch on what's available today as part of spring release, and then give a preview of what could be coming next. As Casey noted, there is a Q&A function, so please feel free to drop any questions there. We have someone on the back end. I'll remind you a couple times during this session that we have questions just so that we don't forget. Okay, let's start thinking about what that ecosystem shift really means. So increasingly in this world of AI, we see data coming from more sources. We traditionally have our external data coming from suppliers or partners to our business. But I've really thought about AI as a kind of up level in efficiency. I know for me in my day-to-day life, it's allowed me to be able to turn over tasks a lot more quickly, which has resulted in me turning over data so much more quickly. This is the case for just about everyone that's adopting AI. And as we start to think about product data and people that we work with external to our internal teams, it's important that we establish a workflow and a process that captures that increased volume. So it's no longer about whether the data is ready or not, or trusted or not. It's about whether we can start to build that trust over time. We have an opportunity as we work with external collaborators to be more complete, more accurate, and build trust in. And that's the shift we're talking about today. integrating trust into the way we think about product data onboarding. So, as I said before, it's not ready or not. Trust isn't binary. It's built over time, just like any relationship. And I'm going to go over a framework today that I like to think of helps kind of establish trust throughout this workflow. So you're going to hear me talk about these three words over and over again. So collection, collaboration, and confirmation. That's how we build trust and confidence at every stage of our product data onboarding journey. So when I think about that journey and the way the product data flows across our external teams, let's define what these mean really quickly. So when we think about collection, we think about where that data is coming from, how we gather that data into one place so that it's easy for our internal teams to make decisions and move it toward our core catalog. But that doesn't happen in isolation, right? We move on to collaboration, where we improve, enrich, and validate the data that's coming in. This is collaborative between our external teams and our internal teams. And then finally, confirmation. Once we've built that trust over time through our product data workflow, how do we move that data into the core catalog where it can flow downstream into whatever channels are appropriate? So I like to frame this as we're not really thinking about just collecting the data. We have the tools to do that. It's about transforming the data and integrating trust into your process. I said I was going to talk about collect, collaborate, and confirm a lot, and it's coming up once again. So the transformation of your workflows is really established through how we collect that data. So we're bringing together a place for that data to be collected in a secure area. And then we've established a new feature that's going to allow us to collaborate, visualizing data across both our internal teams and external teams so they have a shared sense of truth across how they're working. And then finally, confirming that data and moving it into our core catalog. This pathway really unlocks that trust boundary that's really important as we see more AI data. It helps us move forward when that data is ready. Okay, I've talked enough about the framework. Let's talk about what we're actually bringing to market. So thinking about collection, that first step in our workflow, we're introducing the contributor portal. This is a dedicated space for our contributors where they can access and upload data and work with our teams in a way that makes sense. I think it's really important that we establish this place for contributors, and it's secure and lets them easily collaborate with us. But I want to highlight something that comes with this. Your internal teams do retain control. So as this data is standardized, we have a secure place for our contributors to input data or suppliers. You can be aware and have visibility into exactly what's going on. This is where we start to build those foundations of trust and confidence. Having that visibility gives us that transition into what will eventually be a collaborative workspace. I know this has been really important to the team to get right. And so I'm going to turn over to Andrea really quickly to talk about why we've decided to go this route for the contributors.
Absolutely. Thank you, Demi. It's super well said. So if we just go back to the slides really quickly, I think the real important thing and what I want to emphasize is that this is the one dashboard and the future home for your supplier daily activities. So similar to how we all have a system, maybe you're using Todoist, for example, for your daily tasks, this is where the place where they will log in on a daily basis to check which of their products are now live in your catalog. So they've been approved and promoted to your main catalog, what in fact has been rejected and needs to be improved. For example, specific feedback on attribute values, and also choose how to provide the data based on your guidelines. So it's really, really cool because they will have this one space where they can do everything. They'll have the power of future functionality such as PIM Gen AI enrichment, and we're putting that together into one place for them. So we're essentially taking the email back and forth that you're probably doing right now, telling them, hey, can you just give me a better quality image, and just putting it into one dashboard with task assignment, in-app messaging, which I think is really, really important for us to have as a layer. Otherwise, the efficiency isn't there. We are missing out on information that is currently retained in emails and spreadsheets, and it's not transparent at all. And also, I'm super excited in the future to start customizing this more and more to your needs. So you'll see from the demo as well, we can now customize guidelines and instructions, but let's think about branding as well, making this a familiar space for your suppliers where they can come in and get to know your brand, your tone of voice, and how you collaborate with them, which I think is super powerful.
I agree. It's super duper powerful. I think this is the beginning of a foundation for our customers and how they can collaborate. I won't say differently, but better with their external contributors. It will be a place that can feel like your company and where your contributors come and input data. And so I'm really excited about what's coming in the future, but specifically what's happening right now, giving the secure place for contributors to access this data and collaborate is a big step forward for how we're thinking about approaching this data. Okay, so we talked a little bit about collection. Let's move on to, you guessed it, the next one, collaboration. So we know that our contributors have a new dedicated space where they can upload that data, but how do we start to make sure that the internal teams have visibility across that data? I'm really excited to say, for the first time ever, as you can see in the screenshot on the screen, we're surfacing that data directly in the PIM. So you can now start to see a place for our internal teams to see the staging catalog, where they can see the data that's coming in from their external contributors, or essentially, theoretically, any place that we might be making product data changes. We're really giving a place for data to land before it hits that core catalog, so you can validate and trust the data before it moves forward. This is really important because as we start to separate external data from your main catalog and visualize it, we need to make it very apparent that it's separate and it's in process and ready to move forward. So that's where the trust builds in. You have control over that boundary of when the data moves forward. It's a really cool advancement. I really, really like this. I'm really excited for Andrew to show you this in a couple minutes in the demo, because I think it's really impactful. I know that I've been in a couple customer calls and we've heard this, being able to visualize what data is coming in from SDM, what data is coming in from specific suppliers, has been an ask that we think is really going to transform the way you work and unlock new possibilities for product data onboarding.
100%, Demi, just to underscore with my own experience as well, I think it's the number one thing that I hear from all my customers. Are we able to stop this data? Are we able to have an approval and rejection gate within the PIM? How can we actually visualize everything that is linked to our PIM data model that's coming from SDM, but outside of the main catalog? Because I don't want those products to be live yet, for example. I still have a couple of iterations to work on, or actually what I want to do is use the SDM workflows purely for the supplier enrichment. So just ask my external contributors to, let's say, take a couple of steps to turn their files into the data structure that I need. But then I want to go in with my team in the PIM and continue the enrichment. And how can I iterate on top of that outside of my main catalog? This is really a critical tool that will allow us to do this and also do it at scale, because as you'll see in the demo, very familiar UI, very familiar functionality, almost no learning curve really, and it's super powerful to bring that boundary to you.
I totally agree. I think as we start to bring this product data into the PIM, all of that rich feature depth that you have in the PIM becomes unlocked on this data. I'm really excited for the future of the staging catalog and how we continue to work. Okay. So we've talked about our first two, collect, collaboration. Now we're at the confirmation step. So we've built that data, we've received it from our contributors, we've allowed them to enrich and navigate that data so that it meets our standards, our internal teams have had a chance to kind of guard that boundary and make sure it fits the standards that before it moves forward. And now we think about how it moves across to our PIM. Right now, I think, and I'll let Andrea speak to this in just a second, we are really focused on our staging catalog, but in the future, there will be greater ability to kind of control this confirmation. And I will turn it over to you to Andrea to talk a little bit about like what future state might look like for confirmation and where we are right now.
Absolutely. So in terms of where we are right now, and again, you'll see it in a moment in the end-to-end demo as well, is that currently data validation is done, for example, in some of the tools that you're already familiar with, like rules or STM workflows. But where we are going is that we're moving that validation much closer to your data model. So that means any change that comes in is much easier to review and automate that review with the rules that we have. So it gets you really, really close to real-time validation. So at the moment, the confirmation is done closer to the external data source, which means you'll see a lot of valid products already flowing into your staging catalog. But once we move it closer to that, it means we are in fact able to accept, let's say, invalid values from your suppliers that you can then yourself enrich. So maybe they don't have your expertise in providing the types of marketing descriptions that you need. So let's accept that data from them and let's actually work on it internally to enrich it to, let's say, the number of characters that we need or just the completeness level that we need for a specific channel. So that is why we're choosing to do that. And confirmation at this moment will look very similar to what you're expecting from our tools, but in the future, you'll immediately see when products fall short of your review and also be able to share that with your suppliers. So just tell them exactly in the moment when they save a value, hey, we're actually expecting something different for media, let's say, or for this title is way too long, or you're actually not within the format of the MPN that we're expecting. So that's really, really cool.
Yeah, I think it's important to focus on, like I've said this a couple times, I think, during this session around how we're bringing what we called SDM closer to the product cloud and integrating it across one experience for how product data gets onboarded. And I think there's a foundational piece, which is not necessarily as flashy as our staging catalog or our contributor portal, but I think really necessary. We're going to talk about unified accounts. We're providing a secure place, and Andrea will walk us through this in the demo of how we set up our organizations and our suppliers, but we have one kind of unique login for customers or external contributors who are interacting with the Akeneo product cloud. So that means for SDM, for the PIM, for any Akeneo cloud product, one login, and they're logged in for everything. So no navigating between tabs and having to re-log in and timing out. I think these are the quality of life improvements that may not be as shiny, but are super necessary as we start to think about scale. Because like I said earlier, as we think about AI driving efficiency for how data is onboarded, that means there could be extra users or extra people that we're working with. And building in this governance model on the back end and being able to control is really important for how we unlock faster onboarding. We decrease operational overhead and have a more consistent experience across the Akeneo product cloud. So I'm going to talk a little bit more and then I will let you get to the meat of what's going on. We've talked a little bit about collection, gathering all that data in one place. We've showed how we're going to visualize that data across our internal and external teams so that we can move closer to trusted data. We talked about the vision for confirmation. But let's see tangibly how trust is built with the features we're bringing to market right now. Andrea, take it away and show us what's going on in the product.
Amazing. Really excited for this demo. Cool. Let's get started. So I'd like to start by introducing you to the new staging catalog. So as we've mentioned before, this is our new dedicated collaboration layer and the boundary that allows you to seamlessly delegate data enrichment and continue working on getting a product ready with both internal and external contributors. So what I really want you to take away from this, and I think if you look at the UI, that will be super clear, is that the staging catalog acts really as a boundary between your PIM main catalog and the data that is still being validated. So this new catalog and the pending products inside it is really the first step towards establishing that collaborate confirm loop that we mentioned with full visibility over data collection from any source. So for today's scenario, I've decided to open a homeware collection shop because I love blankets and curtains. So I am working with 5 different suppliers to start building a collection. So in my staging catalog, I am able to quickly see the status of each product that was submitted by them, whether it's a new or an updated product, maybe a couple of attributes, filter by a specific supplier. So for example, let's look at what the Curtain Collective has provided for me, or a specific family. So in the future, another takeaway for you is that I'm expecting to use these pending products all throughout the PIM. So you can imagine that external data will start flowing into collaboration workflows for reviews from your team or further enrichment. And I'll also be able to go into my main catalog and create a skeleton product with a SKU that I'm providing, and then assign that product to suppliers to kind of signal, hey, this is the product we're co-creating, please go in and enrich it. And I think what's really cool about this is that I do have full visibility over the source of the data. I can not only see that it's coming from an external tool, which is SDM, because I purchased it as part of my Akeneo Product Cloud package, but I can also check which file this product update came from for audit purposes. And I think this is where it's quite easy to see that I've just navigated and I'm logged into SDM, but it's exactly what Demi was mentioning, that I can seamlessly navigate to any product within Akeneo Product Cloud without the need for additional login. So I can interchangeably go in between SDM used for external data onboarding and the PIM, where I'm much closer to the live catalog. Cool. So let's have a look at how I've set up my 5 contributors, so the suppliers for today. Something, again, that is new is contributor management. That's closer to the place where you manage your internal team access. So again, for efficiency purposes, it's really easy to now manage both types of access, internal and external, in the Akeneo Product Cloud within your main dashboard. And each supplier will essentially be able to receive an invitation to a dedicated secure account, just email and password login, that will be used to access the new contributor portal. So you'll clearly see exactly who your collaborators are, have control over what they're seeing or doing. And in the future, we also imagine delegating this user management to their company, because we know if you're working with thousands of suppliers and they have 10 people each in the team, that's quite hard for you to manage. So you can also see how the delegation of responsibilities occurs there. Cool. So as you can see, I also have a different personality for today. I am the category manager for the Curtain Collective. So I'd really like to switch into my supplier persona and become Andrea, the category manager for the Curtain Collective. So this is my secure login, and you will see in a moment that I have access to my retailer's contributor portal, a link that they have shared with me when I first got onboarded as a supplier on their account. So what I can do is I can access this portal with my dedicated login and password. And after I'm being authenticated, I'll just land onto my new dashboard. So at the moment, what I can see is all of the latest imports from my colleagues. So we've been working on building up this collection, and I can check the status of each of the workflows that have gone through to SDM. But in the future, just keep in mind the big picture vision that this will be the dashboard where I'll have more and more features such as notifications, a place where the top actions that I need to do today will be emphasized, reminders, in-app messaging. So it all comes down to this portal.
A real hub, right, Andrea, for like collaboration, both for the contributors that are using the link, but also to pass messaging from the internal teams to the external teams. So really working as one unit to make sure things go seamlessly instead of having to like upload, email, and resolve that in email and then bring it back. So I'm really excited about this.
Exactly. And you're not going to see it in today's version, but let's say I see the latest 5 imports here, and one of them could maybe still be pending because there's a comment like, hey, you've actually not uploaded the right template for this file. And I'll see that feedback actionable on the specific file that I've uploaded. So it's much easier to trace rather than getting an email, hey, you haven't sent us the right data. And it's just very hard to realize what you've sent, what you haven't sent. So yeah, that's going to be amazing. Cool. So let's get going with my task for today. Have new blankets and curtains, new collection to provide.
Ooh.
So what I need to do is upload a new file. So through SDM today, we actually have a lot of options to do that. At Akeneo, I can say that we're really building a world where data can flow in from any kind of source. So not only kind of the classic one, like sending files from your ERP to an FTP server that we have on SDM or through an API integration, but also something that will be available today from the spring release is the ability to send a file via a simple email. So this is forwarded to a secure address that is linked to our portal, in this case, the Curtain Collective portal. And I can quickly just share this file, new collection blankets, just a spreadsheet that's coming from a template, just like that. Amazing. So that's one way of sending the file. And of course, the second one is uploading file and assets via the secure portal. So here I can actually go in and follow all of the guidelines that have been left for me by my retailer, and I can download any sort of templates that would help me be more efficient in making sure that my data will actually make it into the main catalog. So yeah, I can go in and just upload this file, import, and continue. So that's it. I've done my job from a supplier side because all they need me to do is do the import. They said they're going to take care of the rest, including the data validation. So it's all I needed to do to share the data for today. But what I'm really excited to show you is actually what happens on the supplier side, on the retailer side, sorry. And as I know via email, I have actually a couple of workflows that I need to complete, I've been told. So if I log in to SDM and I look for the new files that have come through, I can see the one that was sent via email that we've just uploaded. So that is one of the two sources that we've received, as well as the one that's coming from the portal, uploaded right now by the Curtain Collective, so via the secure portal. However, I think what's more important for me, because my colleagues told me this, is that we have a file that is almost ready to be pushed to the PIM. All I need to do is just go on to the last step, which is normalization. So that is data validation. And because I'm the category manager, I'm just responsible for quickly checking everything and making sure that we have the right quality of data, that all the attributes are in, and all of the data is essentially valid and up to standards. So I have these 4 products here. I can see that everyone's done a great job at categorizing it. Of course, most of it was automated with our AI modules, and it all looks perfectly to me, and it's ready to be pushed. So I'm just going to go continue, and I'm ready to see those on the other side, making it into my staging catalog. So let's move on over there in the PIM and see what happened. So they're all here, they're ready. These are the 4 new products that we have pushed right now through the job with end-to-end tracing back to the Curtain Collective and coming from SDM. And right now, what you have seen is the products have actually been auto-merged into my main catalog. So if I go in, I will also see them here because they are ready and they are live. And that happened because they're already valid. So as we've mentioned earlier, the validation was done in SDM, but if they hadn't been valid, here I would have already seen it's invalid, and we're going to offer the opportunity to reject those or manually change them and then propagate them, promote them to the main catalog. So the experience is very similar to what we have right now, but it allows us to build this future. So I'm really hoping with this demo, you're kind of taking away that this is really the foundation of the future collect, collaborate, and confirm loop. And that on top of this, we're going to provide all of the tools that you need to really iterate on product data until it's ready to be promoted. So if the data is invalid here, what are the steps that I need to do? And I can have multiple options, either leveraging the PIM functionality, asking suppliers to leverage it, for example, GenAI enrichment on their side, or just delegating specific things to them with the guidelines. And then also, I think something that's worth mentioning, since we're the last session of the day and we want to bring it all together based on the keynote that you saw yesterday, hopefully, is that you can clearly see how this boundary also allows you to interact with Ziggy in a safe way. So if we're talking about agents proposing changes on pending products, they'll be able to do that here. And we can clearly imagine a future where the source is Ziggy and it's trying to propose a better description for you. So yeah, that is it on the demo. And then I think should we talk a bit about the future as well?
Yeah, let's talk about a little bit about the future. Let's get the slides back up.
I think I can share the slides as well if you want me to. Amazing. So just wanted to wrap up by talking a bit about what we're working on. So our main priority right now, after we've established the foundation, is to help you share the right products with your suppliers and also guide them in the data collection process. So we want to make sure that they can see and they can edit exactly what they have to. For example, the right attributes, families, and channels. So the collection process is super efficient on their side. We are also building that real-time validation that we spoke about, and that will allow them to also start enriching the data via a simple UI. So directly in a staging catalog, very similar to yours, with a product edit form, allowing them even more flexibility to just send you a couple of attributes if all that's changed is, for example, the label on a product. And lastly, we'll be working on unlocking that collaboration and removing the email back and forth by adding reminders, email notifications, task assignment functionality to really speed up that collaboration. So yeah, from my side, I'm really just excited to work with all of you and all customers and partners on building that future.
Yeah, I think one thing I'm super excited about that's coming on the horizon is the customization that we're going to be bringing to the portal. We talked about it briefly, but it really should feel like a place that is not Akeneo, but it's your company, right? And so your external contributors land in that contributor portal where it feels like they're helping your organization be successful. So I'm really excited about those things.
Absolutely.
We'll just go to the next slide. Okay, so we've talked a lot today about external product data. And Akeneo was doing a great job of delivering that experience. But right now, we're setting the foundation for where we're going in the future. We know that the world is changing and external data is no longer just collected. It's coming in from multiple sources. It's coming in more rapidly. So we want to start to establish tools that allow you to review, improve, and trust that data over time before it enters your main catalog and flows into your downstream channels. So if you take nothing else away from today, I want you to remember this thing. We are making trust visible using the staging catalog as a place for your internal teams to work with data that's coming from external contributors. In combination with the contributor portal, it allows your external teams and internal teams to protect that core catalog, making sure data is trusted over time. And we're not just adding features for feature's sake. I do want to call out to over and over again, we're adding in the controls and governance that you need to make sure that you can scale successfully. So, confident ingestion isn't just about moving faster. It's about confirming with confidence. So remember, collect, collaborate, confirm. That's a new way to work with product data, and especially within the Akeneo Product Cloud ecosphere. Now, is our time for questions. I'm going to pop up in the chat and see if there's any questions. As a reminder, just drop those questions in chat and we will make sure that we answer them. We have the best people on today.
And any question is on the table as well.
Okay. Well, it seems as though this has been super informative for everyone. So thank you so much for joining us. As always, Akeneo is always here to be your partner. So if questions do bubble up over time, just send them over to your account team. They can get them to us and we can make sure we answer them. We look forward to hearing from all of our customers and making sure that we collaborate with you as we move toward a new future about product data onboarding. Thank you so much, and I'll hand it over to Casey.
Thanks, Demi and Andrea, for a wonderful session, especially to help us close out the day. It's been such an exciting 2 days, and I want to take a quick minute to just thank everybody who's made this event possible. So thank you to all the speakers that have joined us over the last 2 days, to the sponsors of the event, to the product moderators, and everybody else working behind the scenes to make this run smoothly. And most importantly, a big, big thank you to you all, to everyone who has attended and engaged in all of our labs. And our keynote sessions. We really could not have done it without you. And we're so appreciative to those of you, especially who come back year after year to Unlock. So thank you again to everyone who has made this possible. And we look forward to seeing you at Unlock next year. Thank you and enjoy the rest of your day / evening, wherever you are. Thanks.